Hong Kong continues to see a strong influx of holidaymakers during the Golden Week. Mark 6 attracts plenty of interest with potential top prize of over $200 million. And Spirit Airlines from the U.S. goes bankrupt, partly due to the Iran war. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The mainland's May Day Golden Week holiday entered its second day. Many holidaymakers from the mainland are still pouring into the city. As of 4 p.m., about 692,000 passenger trips have been recorded through various border control points, including some 233,000 inbound mainland visitors. Just how popular is Hong Kong among mainland travelers? Here in Kennedy Town, this Hong Kong sign may offer one clue. This pre-war stonewall tree on Forbes Street in Saiwan, akin to a waterfall, has also become a landmark. And down by the waterfront, another must-see spot drew a steady stream of visitors. Over in Old Yau Ma Tei Police Station, which is a familiar backdrop in nostalgic Hong Kong films, crowds were once again pouring in. Tickets to the exhibition inside sold out early in the day. Among the visitors were day trippers who squeezed an entire Hong Kong itinerary in just a few hours. A visitor from Shenzhen says they started in Mongkok this morning, then walked here, then they will head to Victoria Harbour and take the MTR to Central and then go up to the Peak, and they will return to the mainland for the night. Nearby in Mongkok, the pedestrian footbridge on Sai Yi Street was bustling with people, as the Golden Week crowds continue to surge through some of Hong Kong's busiest districts. Some holidaymakers opted for more in-depth cultural exploration, including a trip to see Monet's paintings at the Museum of Art in Tsim Sha Tsui. Some also took to a Tsim Sha Tsui harbourfront market with a Hong Kong movie theme.
What the locals do, that's the real meaning of being a tourist, like learning about the real culture, not just like the places that everybody wants to visit.
The government estimates throughout the Golden Week holidays, Hong Kong will receive around 980,000 mainland tourists. Some people, including mainland tourists, chose to camp in Hong Kong during the Golden Week holiday. About 20 tents were set up at Hock Tau campsite in Pa Sin Lang Country Park, Fanling, on Saturday morning. Some of them were mainland tourists. A camper said his family wanted to explore the city's natural landscapes, adding that camping can help him relax. Toilets and shower facilities are located near the campsite. A trash collection point is available. Apart from tourists, a few locals also visited the spot to spend their weekend. With a 3-day-long weekend, many Hong Kong residents are taking a short trip out of the city. Among the popular destinations is nearby Shenzhen. By 4 p.m., the Immigration Department recorded around 240,000 Hong Kong citizens leaving the city, with a vast majority heading up north. As May begins, even southern China can enjoy a winter wonderland. This is the world's largest indoor ski resort located in Qianhai, Shenzhen. Golden Week ticket prices are more than 50% higher than usual, yet the attraction is still drawing large numbers of Hong Kong holiday makers. This Hong Kong traveler says while it's not quite the same as ski resorts overseas, it's very convenient and is quite big too. He adds that a ski trip to Japan can set them back over $10,000. Here in Shenzhen, the one-day trip with skiing only costs a few hundred. Another man says he comes almost every week as he bought an annual pass at just over $20,000 a year. The ski resort operator expects around 28% of its Golden Week holiday visitors to hail from Hong Kong and Macau. It has also teamed up with cross-boundary coach companies to roll out package deals ferrying Hong Kong customers directly between the resort and urban districts of Hong Kong. The company says Hong Kong visitors are an important source of business, noting their strong enthusiasm for skiing and spending power, whether among families or younger customers. Besides the slopes, food and shopping are another centerpiece. This shopping mall in Bao'an district, open for less than a year, has become one of the hottest destinations for Hong Kongers heading north. During the Golden Week, it is staging food festivals and art exhibitions to draw bigger crowds. This Hong Kong visitor remarks that she's just come back from New York, and this area is even more advanced than New York, with clean streets and tidy stalls. She adds that if Hong Kong remains complacent and doesn't improve, travelers will get bored.
經濟少少咯，始終都
Another visitor pointed to the simple economics, noting things are much cheaper in the mainland. The Immigration Department expects Sunday to be the peak day for inbound return traffic. A record snowball draw with the jackpot reaching $228 million will take place this evening. The draw is to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Mark VI. Bets worth over $300 million have been placed by late afternoon. Ticket selling will stop at 9:15 p.m. The Musin reports.
This betting station in Central was packed with punters on Saturday morning. Individuals can queue and buy tickets from the counters, or they can secure tickets at one of the self-help machines after selecting their lucky numbers. Despite the station being small in size, its popularity is certainly not, as the Stanley Street branch has long been referred to as one of the luckiest betting places in Hong Kong. Many punters said they wanted to try their luck with the historic high snowball draw.
Maybe today is my lucky day, huh?
If you actually won this 2.28 million.
Well, then I would have to think about how to use the money to help people.
I was in Central for dim sum and thought I'd come here to enter the draw, this woman said, who had already placed bets at the Tsuen Wan branch a few days ago. A friend of mine had won a third prize here. I would donate some money to charity if I actually won a big one. I mean, that's a lot of money, so you have to give some out, this man said. This punter bought 27 tickets and said a total of 11 friends decided to enter the draw together. Asked what she and her friends would spend the lottery money on, the woman said the group would distribute 30% of whatever prize they win to charity. The Jockey Club will hold another snowball draw apart from the May 2nd one to celebrate Mark VI's 50th anniversary since 1976. The club will announce the details of the second draw later. Mamos 9, TVB News.
Justice Secretary Paul Lam said authorities will review the city's arbitration ordinance as the government formulates its first 5-year plan. Speaking on a radio program, Lam mentioned the need to review the arbitration ordinance, saying necessary enhancements will help maintain Hong Kong's competitiveness. Lam also said Hong Kong will be more involved in the mainland's arbitration affairs. The Justice Secretary added, while the arbitration system works differently in Hong Kong and in the mainland, it's important to achieve a supplementary effect. In the U.S., bankrupt discount carrier Spirit Airlines ceased operations on Saturday, the industry's first casualty linked to the Iran war. This after failing to secure creditor support for a U.S. government bailout plan. Daniel Rao has the story.
Spirit Airlines announced Saturday it has gone out of business after 34 years. The ultra-low-cost airline that once operated hundreds of daily flights on its bright yellow planes and employed about 17,000 people said it had started an orderly wind-down of its operations effective immediately. The airline said all flights have been cancelled and customer service is no longer available. US President Donald Trump said his administration had given the budget carrier a final proposal for a taxpayer-funded takeover to keep it from going under, but the absence of a deal put the airline's future in doubt.
Well, we're looking at it, but if we can't make a good deal, no institution's been able to do it. I said, I'd like to save the jobs, but we'll have an announcement sometime today. We gave them a final proposal.
Trump floated the idea of a bailout last week after the airline found itself in bankruptcy proceedings for the second time in less than 2 years, with jet fuel prices soaring because of the Iran war. Spirit has struggled financially since the COVID pandemic, weighed down by rising operating costs and growing debt. By the time it filed for Chapter 11 protection in November 2024, Spirit had lost more than $2.5 billion since the start of 2020. The budget carrier sought bankruptcy protection again in August 2025, when it reported having $8.1 billion in debts and $8.6 billion in assets. Analysts say the airline's collapse would put thousands of Americans out of work and hurt consumers by reducing airline competition and increasing airfares. A Spirit passenger gave her thoughts on the company's bankruptcy and a potential government bailout.
Well, hearing that Spirit is shutting down, I think it's insane. I always thought Spirit had a bunch of customers and a lot of support with like other people flying as well, whether it's economy and back and forth and just a safe flight to use.
Daniel, TV News.
The United States will withdraw about 5,000 troops from Germany in the next 6 to 12 months, the Pentagon said Friday. fulfilling U.S. President Donald Trump's threat as he clashes with German leader Friedrich Merz over the U.S. war with Iran. This as President Trump said he is raising tariffs on EU cars and trucks to 25%. Tracy Furness has more.
US President Donald Trump threatened to withdraw some troops from Germany earlier this week after German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said America was being humiliated by the Iranian leadership and criticized Washington's lack of strategy in the war. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell said the decision follows a thorough review of the department's force posture in Europe and is in recognition of theater requirements and conditions on the ground. Germany hosts several US military facilities, including the headquarters of its European and Africa commands, Ramstein Air Base, and a medical centre in Landstuhl, where casualties from the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq were treated. The number leaving Germany would be 14% of the 36,000 American service members stationed there. US nuclear missiles are also stationed in the country. This, as Trump said, he's raising tariffs on EU cars and trucks to 25%. Germany is a major exporter of vehicles to the United States.
We have a trade deal with the European Union. They were not adhering to it, so I raised the tariffs on cars and trucks to 25%. That's billions of dollars coming into the United States, and it forces them to move their factory production much faster. We have right now in the United States over $100 billion of car plants being built. It's a record.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And still ahead, China assumes presidency of UN Security Council and says the Strait of Hormuz needs to be reopened as soon as possible. Donald Trump argues the Iran war has paused. Protests and rallies from around the world on Labor Day. Welcome back. China has assumed the rotating presidency of the United Nations Security Council on May 1st. Beijing's permanent representative to the United Nations, Fu Tong, said the Strait of Hormuz needs to be reopened as soon as possible. Mo Singai reports.
On Friday, Fu Chong, the permanent representative of China to the United Nations, spoke to the media about the Security Council's priorities for May at the UN headquarters in New York. He said China will carry out the duties of the presidency in a constructive and responsible way, while communicating with all sides to foster consensus and cooperation. Fu said it is necessary to restore the authority and the role of the United Nations amid the growing international tensions. He said another priority for the Council is to advance the settlement of the Middle East conflicts, including the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
China's view is that we need to open the Strait of Hormuz as quickly as possible, and that actually applies to both sides. I'm sure if the Hormuz is still closed by the time President Trump goes to China, this issue will be high on the agenda of the bilateral talk.
Fu said the China-U.S. relations go beyond the Strait of Hormuz.
In our belief, if the two sides can show mutual respect and can stick to the principle of peaceful coexistence and the win-win cooperation, this bilateral relationship can prosper.
Fu added that a healthy and stable China-U.S. relations will fulfill the national interests of both countries. Momus 9, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump's administration is arguing the war in Iran has already ended because of the ceasefire that began in early April. The interpretation would allow the White House to avoid the need to seek congressional approval for military action that lasts for more than 60 days. Democrats have pushed the administration for formal approval of the Iran war. Yanni Rao tells us more.
The statement from U.S. President Donald Trump's administration furthers an argument laid out by U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth during testimony in the Senate. Experts argued the ceasefire effectively paused the war. Under that rationale, the Trump administration has not yet met the requirement mandated by a 1973 law to seek formal approval from Congress for military action that extends beyond 60 days.
He would, because, who's going to hire him, frankly?
A senior administration official said for purposes of that law, the hostilities that began on Saturday, February 28th, have terminated. The official said the US military and Iran have not exchanged fire since the two-week ceasefire that began April 7th. While the ceasefire has since been extended, Iran maintains its chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz, and the US Navy is maintaining a blockade to prevent Iran's oil tankers from getting out to sea. Under the War Powers Resolution, the law that sought to constrain a president's military powers, Trump had until Friday to seek congressional authorization or cease fighting. Democrats have pushed the Trump administration for formal approval of the Iran war, and the 60-day mark would likely have been a turning point for a swath of Republican lawmakers who backed temporary action against Tehran, but insisted on congressional input for something longer. An analyst said there is nothing in the War Powers Resolution that supports the Trump administration's argument.
President Trump needed to secure congressional authorization before even launching the war, but now that the war is past 60 days, it is unambiguously unlawful. The Trump administration, for its own part, is arguing that the ceasefire that has existed for the past 2 weeks of April means that the 60-day clock has been paused or even terminated. But there is nothing in the War Powers Resolution's text or design that suggests that the clock can be paused. Instead, that clock ran out on May 1.
Meanwhile, Trump told reporters Iran wants to make a deal to end the war, but he's not satisfied with it.
So they want to make a deal, but I'm not satisfied with it, so we'll see what happens. Iran wants to make a deal because they have no military left, essentially, and they want to make a deal, but I'm not satisfied with it.
Trump did not elaborate on what he sees as the proposal's shortcomings, saying only Tehran's various leadership factions are not getting along. Dan Arel, TVB News.
Britain's King Charles III received a ceremonial welcome by the Royal Bermuda Regiment as he began his historic solo tour of Bermuda. The King arrived on the island Thursday, his first visit to a British overseas territory as King. Following his official welcome, where he inspected an honor guard and greeted the waiting crowd, Charles visited St. Peter's Church, where he met with the Bishop of Bermuda. He then visited Royal Naval Dockyard's Keep Yard, where he met with National Gombe dance troupe performers before visiting the National Museum. Charles also met with young athletes and members of youth organizations. He ended the day aboard a Bermuda Coast Guard patrol vessel to hear about the Coast Guard's efforts to protect Bermuda's maritime environment and security. The King's visit to Bermuda comes following his 4-day state visit to the United States. On May Day yesterday, there were rallies and street protests around the world calling for peace, higher wages, and better working conditions, as many workers grapple with rising energy costs and shrinking purchasing power as a result of the Iran war. Tracy Furness reports.
From thousands outside City Hall in Philadelphia to Chicago, Illinois, where workers were out in force, calling people to strike for immigrant rights, and some calling for ICE to free more than 3,000 people they have allegedly abducted. In New York City, Mayor Zohran Mamdani showed his support for the unions at a rally in Washington Square Park and spoke of the history of the labor rights movements in the city.
Time and again, New York City workers have shaped history from where we stand right now. We speak of Eugene Debs calling for the 8-hour workday and the end of child labor. Workers have won the rights that are taken for granted today. The 40-hour work week, the weekend, overtime pay, minimum wage, Social Security, workplace safety standards. These have all been won by the workers who came before us. And that is why we continue to fight for those who power this city as we look to deliver universal child care, faster buses, cheaper groceries, protecting our neighbors from the cruelty of ICE. And yes, working to tax the wealthiest and the most profitable corporations in New York City.
In San Francisco, protesters blocked a road outside the international terminal at San Francisco's airport Friday, leading to the street's closure for about 2 hours. Several state and city elected officials were arrested.
Supervisor, are you okay with being arrested?
Yeah.
Why?
Because these workers need a contract. They've been going for a year. We need to do right by them.
Meanwhile, in Russia, trade unions and political parties marked May Day with rallies, concerts and smaller gatherings across the country, as large nationwide demonstrations were not held this year amid security concerns. And in Portugal, thousands of workers gathered across the country to oppose a proposed labour reform led by the government. Protesters marched and chanted slogans on the streets of Lisbon, including the Workers' Confederation Union, the largest workers' union in Portugal, which announced a general strike for June 3rd. This will be the second general strike in the country since protests began in December. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Back locally, Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong says he believes the government will be able to secure enough owners' consent to trigger the compulsory buyout of Wang Chi House at Wanfo Court. Wang Chi House is the only block not damaged in the deadly blaze. Under the government's proposal announced earlier, the acquisition process can begin if 75% of owners there confirm by the end of June that they are willing to sell their property rights. Speaking on a radio program, Wang said an earlier survey showed the threshold had already been met, while another 10% of residents were still considering their options. Wang stressed there would be no legislative move to force an acquisition if the proportion of willing sellers falls too low. As for the use of the remaining 7 demolished blocks, Wang reiterated the site would be redeveloped into a park and community facilities. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.